up, everybody? Welcome to Shaggin Wagons. I am your host, King Triz, and tonight is when we begin the competition. 41 drivers came to the valley, only 32 made it in. Tonight we have groups 1 and 2. 8 drivers racing tonight, but only 4 will move on. Let's look at group 1. Numbskull driving the Jackhammer, coming in with the fastest qualifying time of the tournament. Sun God driving the Volvo V60. Giorgio Soprano driving Silver Streak, a 94 Avant RS2. He had to fight his way into the tournament. And rounded up group 1, it's Scotty driving a Chevy Nomad. Starting off race 1, we got Numbskull and Sun God in the 1-2 position. And coming down the first stretch, Numbskull taking a good lead, skids a little bit, gives enough time for Ra to catch up. Everybody caught up, single file. Numbskull takes the win. Numbskull basically recorded a 6.4 in the time trials, got a 7.4 here. He loses control around the first major bank, but recovered well enough to take the win. Sun God coming in second place, Scotty coming in third, and Giorgio in last place. Race number 2, we got Scotty and Numbskull in the 1 and 2 spot, and they're off. Numbskull taking the lead, showing off all that speed that he had in the qualifying round. He's going straight for the win, and no! Numbskull takes himself out of the intersection. Scotty wins the second race. Let's look at that from a different angle. As you can see, coming out of the intersection, Numbskull understeers and hits the right side of the intersection and bangs over to the left. Definitely not a good look for Numbskull. He has 4 points, Ra with 6 points, Scotty with 6 as well, and Giorgio with 3. Let's move on to the third race. Race 3, we have Giorgio and Scotty in the 1 and 2. Giorgio takes a decent lead over Scotty, and he is all alone. When you see Numbskull pushing Scotty in the background, nobody on the final stretch but Giorgio. He takes his first win. Numbskull crashes in the back before the stretch. We got to see what happened. So we can see Scotty and Ra gets mixed up in the back. Scotty turns around, and right behind the waterfall, we see Numbskull pushing Scotty. So that means he overtook Ra somewhere. Ra's in last place. He didn't even make it. And with that win, that puts Giorgio in the front of the pack with 7 points. Numbskull all the way in the back with 4. That's not something we expected. Final race, let's see what happens. Ra and Giorgio in the front, looking to make something of it. As you can see, Numbskull takes second place, Ra in first place, Giorgio in third, being close behind Numbskull. Pretty impressive in this race. Coming into the final stretch, Numbskull tries to pass. Ra puts a block in the spin, keeping the first place win for him. Ra with the high IQ driving, spinning around and blocking the pass by Numbskull. Let's see what the points look like. And with the first upset of the tournament, Numbskull does not make it through. Giorgio, who had to fight for the 31st place in the tournament, makes it through along with Sun God. So that's what it's all about, folks. Consistency. Giorgio finished every race, even though he wasn't the fastest car on the track. And as a reminder, folks, this series is brought to us by Merch by Meekin. For all your custom mail signs, prints, and diecast designs, heat up Merch by Meekin. Here's the introduction for Group 2. Scooter Roundwell driving the 850 Estate Volvo. Brood driving the red Chevy Nomad. Edward Johnson also driving the Chevy Nomad. And Uncle Elvis driving the Mummy Motors. Brood and Scooter Roundwell on the 1 and 2s, and they're off. Brood and Scooter Roundwell very close, but Brood edges of Scooter. Scooter's close behind, followed by Uncle Elvis. Straight line, very competitive race. Brood taking first place, followed by Scooter Roundwell. Then Uncle Elvis and Edward Johnson rounded up that. Race 2, we got Uncle Elvis on the 1 and 2s, and Uncle Elvis takes the early lead, goes around the corner. There seems to be some problems in the back, but Uncle Elvis wrecks, which leaves Brood and Scooter Roundwell coming down to the finish. We need to see that again. We had 2 accidents in this race. Edward Johnson right at the top, and Uncle Elvis right here bounces himself off the track. So this gives Brood a commanding lead with 8 points. Scooter with 6. Uncle Elvis and Edward Johnson has a lot of work to do to catch up. Race 3, we have Edward and Uncle Elvis on the 1s and 2s. And Edward takes the early lead going into the corner. Scooter around with squeezes behind him. Coming down the final straight, it's Edward. Scooter around with putting the block on Uncle Elvis. Edward Johnson with the win, but let's look at that overtake by Scooter on Uncle Elvis. Pretty sweet, competitive racing all the way down. Edward Johnson now with 5 points, Brood nowhere to be found with 8 points, Scooter in a good place with 9 points, and at this point, it's impossible for Uncle Elvis. Scooter and Edward Johnson in the 1s and 2s, with Scooter takes the lead, Edward Johnson on the 12, followed by Brood. Uncle Elvis in last place. Scooter has the win, but no, not again. Edward Johnson with his 2nd win in a row. Scooter was looking real comfortable, but I said, man, that intersection, it can take you out if you're not balanced. This is not a good look for Scooter Roundwell, because he now has to go into a tiebreaker round with Edward Johnson. Brood already moves forward with the 2nd place in this race. Alright, let's get straight into it. And moving on from Group 2, we have Brood and Edward Johnson, both driving Chevy Nomads. Well, folks, that was fun. Group 1 and 2 gave us a lot of great racing, a lot of comebacks, and a lot of unexpected results. Congratulations to Giorgio Soprano, Ross Sungod, Brood, and Edward Johnson for moving on to the next round. And thanks to Numbskull, Scotty, Scooter Roundwell, and Uncle Elvis for joining the race. It was great to have you guys on the track. And special thanks to Merch by Meekin for sponsoring the race. See you guys next week for Group 3 and 4.